Hey guys, before we get started with this week's podcast episode, just wanted to give a shout out to my friends Justin and Tevi who have started a podcast of their own. It's called The Pogcast, P-O-G cast. And they're really, really, really funny. Basically, I'm going to read you the description of their podcast. They put, two dudes huddle around a microphone at 12:30 midnight and ask each other questions like the meaning of life and what each other's dream pizza toppings are. So if you're into weird, pondering, questionable questions and quirky humor and you just want a good laugh and you're just sitting there wondering what these dudes are thinking, go listen to their podcast. I guarantee you're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, and you may question some life decisions. But anyways, yeah, their podcast is available on Anchor and Spotify. So go check it out. I will link it below. Go give them some support. They just started this podcast and yeah, they're really, really funny guys and they're great and they're awesome. So go check them out. Anyways, that being said, enjoy this week's episode, even though it's a sad one. Okay, bye.
Hi, so if you haven't heard about Anchor before, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain why. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right now from your computer or phone. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So this episode sponsored by Anchor, and just download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hey guys, it's just me on today's episode. Okay, this is gonna be a heart to heart. I'm just gonna say it. Heart to heart. You and me. You and whoever is listening to on the other end of this platform, podcast, thingamajig, whatever you want to call it. There's just some things I gotta get off my chest, and it's gonna be more for my sake. Yes, guys, I do use this podcast as a form of therapy for me, because I don't have a therapist at the moment, and also I think it's okay to be vulnerable and to be real. And yes, I am an oversharer. I act too much, I feel too much, I think too much, I cry too much, I sing too much, and so I'm just gonna get it all out for you guys, because I need to be real. And yeah. So first of all, I think I owe someone an apology on this podcast. I made a promise several episodes ago that if I ever talked about anyone in specific on this podcast, or just anyone at all, that I was never going to bring up their name in respect to them, because I don't think it would be nice to talk about someone when they never gave me their permission or their consent to do it. And also, I just don't want to get sued. So for the legality of the situation and in respect towards that person, I am intending to keep that promise from now on. So person that's listening to this, if you're still listening to this, I know I blocked you on everything, and I kind of said your name like 1 episode ago, 2 episodes ago. I don't know, but I I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I talked about you in a bad light. I'm sorry that I called you a name, and but the truth is that I'm a mess right now. I'm a mess. Um, I'm falling apart inside. Um, I'm trying so hard to keep it together, to not let myself get consumed by things. And my intent was never to call you out or say mean things about you. It's just that you hurt me, and I understand that I hurt you as well. And in the moment, it was immature and it was stupid of me to bring up your name, so I'm sorry for that. I didn't want to smear your reputation. I didn't want to damage your reputation. Just know that I was just in the moment, and I acted on my emotions. I acted on the feeling. I acted on the fact that I have a platform and people listen to it, and it was kind of my release. And so I'm sorry that I hurt you in that way. I'm sorry that I never set boundaries in our friendship, and I let things that shouldn't have happened happen. But it was killing me on the inside to maintain a friendship with you. It was toxic to me. It wasn't good for me, and I'm pretty sure it's not good for you either to have this kind of friendship with me. So even though I have you blocked on everything, I know that you still listen to this podcast, so this is my apology to you. I'm sorry. I really am. Just know that I'm doing this because I need to set a boundary. I'm doing this because I need to work on myself a lot. God has convicted me a lot, and God is still convicting me, and I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgive you, despite everything you did. You don't have to forgive me, but just know that I forgive you, and I actually mean that this time. But yeah, I really hope you have a great life, and I'm not going to talk about you again ever on this podcast, and if I do, I will take it out. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, guys, I'm falling apart on the inside. If you hear a weird noise, it's my air conditioning. I'm in my car recording this podcast episode, okay? So I'm falling apart. I have a lot of days where I'm full of joy, where I'm excited about life, where I'm thriving, and all I want to do is hug people and love on them and give them love and be there for them and just like do everything that I can for them. But there's days where I fall apart, and it's been happening more frequently than normal, and my emotions are just at an all-time high. I'm a very emotion driven person, sadly. I wish I knew how to manage that better. I really do. And I think in the future, when I have a better job and I'm making more money, I'm gonna invest in a psychologist or a therapist, because I really need to be able to work through this emotional trauma that I have. But yeah, I have a lot of highs and I have a lot of lows. This past week, for example, I was just I'm a teaching assistant. I was in my classroom. I was grading papers. I was, inputting assignments into the grade book and into the Google Classroom, because that's the medium that we're using for the students. And I was just sitting there listening to music, and music is very powerful. It evokes so many emotions in us. And for me, music has always been the one thing that has given me comfort, and it's been one of my first loves. And so I was listening to Shawn Mendes' new album, Wonder, and I felt every word and every lyric that he sang, and the emotion that the song carried and everything. I'm very much that person that when I listen to a song or a type of music, I embody the feeling and the emotion that the song carries, and like I kind of put myself in the shoes of what that singer slash songwriter was experiencing in the moment with that song. I'm a little music nerd in that sense. And so I was just listening to this album, and then all of a sudden, and I was inputting grades at the same time and doing assignments and making Google forms and doing all that because that's part of my job. And I just find myself sitting there bawling. But it was tears of happiness. I was so joyful listening to that album, because that album is clearly a love letter to his life right now, to his relationship. And I was just sitting there and I'm like, the best gift that God has given us is love. It's love. And I just sat there and I was kind of like just going through it, and I was like, you know what? I know I have difficult times with my family and my friends and like myself, but I love people. I love people, and I want to love them better. I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better daughter. I want to be a better person. And then someday I want to be married, and I want to have a husband, and I want to have children, and I want to love someone, and I want someone to love me back. And I was just sitting there, and I'm like, Lord, I'm so blessed. I have this job that is so easy to do. I come to work every single day joyful and grateful for my job, and genuinely happy and ecstatic to work. I'm a workaholic. And so when I like my job, I really throw myself into it. And I didn't come out of my classroom almost that whole week because I was just so invested into my work. And that is a coping mechanism for me. I will throw myself into a project, into work, into anything just to kind of detach myself from the things that I'm going through in my life. And I have periods where I'm depressed, where I experience, I don't want to use the word depressed that lightly, because it is a clinical term and you need a clinical diagnosis, but I go through periods of sadness in my life where I'm sitting there and I cry. But this past week, I was crying tears of joy because I just realized how much I'm blessed, how blessed I am to have the job that I have, to have the career that I have, to have the life that I have, to have gone to school, to have my family, my friends, everyone in my life, to have a savior that loves me so unconditionally. And I was just like, it had to have been the Holy Spirit. I don't see any other way around it. Because I was just so happy, and that day or that past week, or I think it was last week too, I got an extreme moment of joy, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna text everyone on my contact list, or everyone that I'm friends with, and I'm gonna tell them how much I love them, how much I appreciate them, even if they don't text me back. I think as humans, and I can't speak for everyone, right? But like, some of us like words of affirmation. Some of us like that validation from other people. We all seek validation in some way, shape, or form. And so, not that I was trying to validate anyone, but I was just trying to tell the people that I love and that I care about how much I love and care for them and how much I appreciate them in my life. Because sometimes we have to do that. You know, one moment the good Lord can keep us on this earth, and then the next day we can die. And so I don't ever want to live my life with regret. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna text everyone that I care for and I love, that I love them and I appreciate them, and I'm so thankful for them in my life, because Lord knows I don't deserve it. I've done things in my life that I'm not proud of, that I'm still grappling with, sin that I'm still grappling with, and there's times where I'm just like, you know, maybe I don't deserve to be loved because of the way I've treated people in the past, because of the way I treat my parents, because of the way I treat my siblings, my own family, and sometimes I'm like, you know, maybe I don't deserve to be in a relationship with someone, to be loved by someone, because look at how I treat my family, look at how I treat my friends, look at how I just am acting selfish, I'm acting on my sin, and it's just not fair, and I'm disappointing God. And sometimes I'm like, this is why things that happen to me, because I act this way. And that could just be my low self-esteem kicking in and reminding me of how crappy I am every single day. But I just, you know, I have moments like that where I'm eternally grateful. And I'm always grateful, but like I have just those moments where I just want to go and hug everyone and love on them and kiss them. And I know we can't do that obviously right now because we are in a global pandemic. But if that wasn't the case, I would just go up to everybody that I love and I care about and just give them a big ol' hug, because life is so short. It's so fleeting, and I don't mean to get all hallmark and cliche and sappy and yucky, but like, you know, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful, and I know sometimes I just like go on here and I complain about my life, but like genuinely I'm so grateful to have the life that I have, that I'm so privileged to even have an internet, to have a phone where I can record this podcast, like to have a job, to have friends. There's people that are so alone that die. I know we all die alone, right? No one goes to heaven with their spouse, right? We die alone, you know. So, and it's good to learn how to be on our own, because we can't be reliant and we can't be codependent on other people, because that's unhealthy. And I've learned how to be alone. You know, I consider myself a pretty independent person. Like, if I want something done, I'll get it done for myself. I hesitate asking for help, and I hesitate opening up to my friends sometimes because I don't want to burden them with my problems. But sometimes you can have all these friends, you can have this family, you can have all these people, and it still feels like you're the only one in the world, and it feels like you're so alone. But then I have to remind myself, I'm not alone. I'm not alone, because I have a Savior that loves me and fights for me every single day. But even sometimes I'm like, Lord, I'm sorry that I haven't relied on you, that I haven't surrendered myself fully to you, Father. I'm sorry that I've just gone through the motions, that I've just let myself get boggled down by these stupid emotions of mine. And you know what? Sometimes I wish that I was emotionally unavailable, that I didn't feel as much as I did, because it's hard. It's hard to just sit there with your own emotions and your own thoughts and try to like compartmentalize them and detach from them sometimes. And that's why I throw myself into my work, I throw myself into music, I throw myself into whatever project I'm starting on, because I want to distract myself from the fact that I am struggling with this. And it's a big struggle for me. It's a big struggle for me to just sit there and be like, you know what? You're not going to cry today. You're not going to you're not going to get emotional over this. It's not worth pouring your energy and your heart into this. It's not worth it. It really isn't. But I need help. And I know God can help me a lot. I know He can, but I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't even know why I'm venting to y'all. You guys just probably want to hear a juicy fact about my life. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have nothing remotely exciting going on for me right now. Life is pretty standard right now. Again, I'm eternally grateful for my life right now. I'm happy that my family is so healthy. No one has COVID. You know, everyone's been able to do what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. You know, I'm grateful and I'm happy for that. But I don't really have anything going on. Like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, y'all, that y'all were probably expecting my happy-go-lucky, funny, self-deprecating side humor to come out. And I'm sorry, today's just not the case. This is just me having another heart-to-heart with my listeners, if you're even listening to this. But I hope that me sharing this shows that I'm a real person too. I have a lot of things that I struggle with, that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, that it's really hard to deal with. And I'm just trying to figure it out in the best way that I can. And I'm trying to let God just transform me from the inside out, because I am such a broken and faulty and wretched person. And I don't deserve to have this platform. I'm just gonna say it. I don't deserve it. I think there's people that are more worthy and more inspirational and better at this than me. This is kind of like a diary entry out for the internet. I have a blog, but it's on private, and I'm not gonna share that with the world. But yeah. I'm happy. Again, I'm grateful. I'm excited to see what new things I put into this podcast. There's going to be a lot more things happening that are way more exciting than me being a little crybaby and telling the whole world that that I don't have it together. My friends that have been on this podcast, they have been a breath of fresh air, and they're so good at coming up with ideas for this podcast. Weeks and days go by and I'm just like, I have nothing going on, or at least the topics that I think of, I feel like they're pretty like mundane, they're pretty boring, and like I feel like not everybody wants to hear me talk about that. And so if y'all were expecting like me to talk about my love life or any of that, that's gonna take a backseat, and I mean it this time. That's gonna take a backseat for a good while. I need to work on myself a lot. I need to work on my relationship with God even more, and I need to work on myself. I need to work on healing my emotional scars, because I have so many. And I just want to encourage anyone out there that if you're struggling with your mental health, if you're struggling with your emotions, if you're struggling with anything of that sort, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go see a therapist. It's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to vent to your friends. It's okay to vent to your family. But if you feel like you have no one, just know that you have God. You have God. And you always have me. If you want someone to talk to hear you out, not necessarily give you advice, but like hear you out. I give pretty good advice sometimes. But if you want just someone to hear you out, guys, I'm always here for you. Like, just know that I may not give the best advice. I may not have a lot of life experience, but I'm human. I feel you, and I understand that sometimes we just need someone to listen to. And so I'm always here. And with that being said, y'all, I have a podcast number that you can always call for this podcast. You can leave podcast suggestions on what I need to improve on the podcast, any topics that you want to hear about, just anything at all. Like, just call the number and I will try to hear you out as best as possible. And the number is 956-278-0720. 956-278-0720. 956-278-0720. So, guys, I hope that me being real on here didn't scare you guys away. I hope y'all tune in next week. We'll have a much more exciting and lively podcast. There's a lot of exciting things with this podcast that are going to be happening. So I'm just going to say stay tuned with that. We may or may not actually record live footage of this podcast being recorded. Yes, you heard it here first. We might do a video. No promises just yet. We're gonna work out all the semantics around it, but yeah, I'm excited for that, and I really, really hope that y'all stay tuned and want to listen to that and actually put a name to the face. Put a face to the name. Put a face to the name. Okay? But yeah, with that being said, guys, I hope y'all have a beautiful, wonderful morning, day, or night, whatever time of day you are listening to this. If you are listening to this at all, if you stumbled upon this podcast, thank you. I'm glad you stayed. I'm glad you listened, even if it was just for like 2 seconds. I hope you stay. I hope you stick around. Please, if you can, leave a little rating, a little comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Give me some feedback. I might start an Instagram page for this podcast. I don't know yet. I might start a Twitter page. I don't know yet. And I might start an email address where you guys can just write into there. Don't know yet. We're gonna work on that. But I'm excited because the 1 year anniversary of this podcast is coming up pretty soon. So I'm really, 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 really excited, and I'm eternally grateful for anyone, no matter how big or small this podcast audience is. I'm eternally grateful for each one of you, and just know that I'm praying for you guys. I'm there with you guys. I love you all, and I want the best for everyone. I want everyone to love, and I want everyone to feel love and be loved. That's one of the best gifts that God has given us. Anyways, with that being said, guys, go forth, prosper, and God bless. I love you all. Bye.